Welcome to this video. We're going to talk about funnels, and we're going to talk about funnels 101 because when it comes down to it, having run my first year of the business, I felt like I was trying to do too many things. I was doing lead magnets, I was doing a newsletter, I was doing low ticket products, I was doing my core offer, and then I had a bunch of different email sequences going to all these different things. And here's the deal. It is way too freaking complex. It's really hard to manage, and you have no idea where it's going to break, right? If it's broken, if it's working, any of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to try and dumb this down as easy as possible. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Colby. Welcome to the channel. My job is to give founders like you a daily dose of autonomy, whether it's on my newsletter, in my social posts, or just helping my clients one-on-one. Autonomy is the ultimate freedom, right? And so I really focus on retaining clients rather than endless acquisition and that sort of stuff. But you do need to acquire clients, and let's go acquire some clients with the simplest possible funnel. The thing is, though, is I'm going to basically kind of take all of my learnings from 2025. It's January 2nd, 2026 as I record this, and am going to go all in on one type of funnel basically for the whole entire year. Now, it has a few different pieces to it, but it's so simple that while all three of my kids who still don't have school are playing blocks and dropping them above me, we can still concentrate and get this done, right? So kind of the first thing in mapping a funnel to keep it from complexity, I would say the number one goal, let's actually outline our goals. The number one goal is to keep it simple as hell. The number two goal is by keeping it simple as hell that you can actually diagnose whether it's working or not. And the third goal would be that it kind of suits your natural style, whether you want to do everything organically, you want to do stuff with paid, you want to do a mixture or a hybrid. We're going to keep it really, really simple. So the first step is like, how do we keep it stupid simple, right? This is a simple funnel in its format. You're going to have some form of content that leads to a page that leads to a customer, or you can say client, right? Essentially, what could look like this is, hey, I have a piece of content I posted on Instagram that sends people to a landing page that shows them a VSL, which is like a video sales letter, something like that. That VSL sends them to a document, which allows them to check out directly from the document, or it has them book a call. So if you don't do a document, you would have one more, in which case this would be the call, and then you'd have one more box down here, and this would be when they turn into a customer or client, right? Pretty simple. So what we're going to do here is just skip ahead, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to run my funnel. So it has max flexibility, and it's going to focus on a couple of things. It's going to focus on things that I tried in 2025 that worked really, really well. But I also want a couple test balloons in there, or at least one test balloon in there, just to kind of see how things will work. And the whole point will be to funnel people to a landing page after they've been nurtured really, really well. So mine has a few more pieces. It may look complex on the surface, but when I actually start explaining it, you'll understand that it really all funnels into basically one path in the end. So let me draw that up, and we'll see here in a second. All right, so this is my funnel. It seems really, really kind of big, but honestly, if we look at it, it's going to be focused on a handful of things. It's going to be focused on something I can consistently perform and just keep at one thing every single day. It really makes my job really, really easy. Essentially, the only thing I have to do on a daily basis is this top part here, right? And that's going to be content. And so when it comes to content, I want to post on Instagram daily and on YouTube weekly, right? Ideally, I'm going to do Instagram and YouTube a little bit of a cadence of say 2x a week, and maybe at least 1x a day, if not 2x a day on Instagram, right? So going to keep it really, really simple. Maybe I'll mix in another platform at the most part, but I highly recommend that you just kind of keep it simple in terms of platforms, because you're a human being, right? And if you're anything like me, who has a family, who has a bunch of other responsibilities, I can't be like the whole omnipresent strategy. I got to be the focused and direct strategy, right? And so the thing with YouTube and Instagram is that the ideas are basically the same. It's just one's long form and one's short form. And so that just kind of plays really, really well, right? But now we're actually talking about how am I going to start kind of enticing traffic, driving traffic to what I want most, which is people to sign up for my email. Now, I'm going to do this in 3 different ways. 2 of them are proven, and 1 of them is a test balloon. So let's start with a test balloon. One is, in a single sitting last year, I wrote a book basically called A Cult of One. It really focuses on autonomy, mindset, identity shifting, and all that sort of stuff. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's good or not. Anyone who's read it has been like, this is amazing, but not that many people have read it. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I want to kind of see that further. I want to see if this book is actually something that can potentially help my business grow, right? And the reason for it is it's only like 40 pages, and it's something like 7,000 words that I wrote in that single sitting. I was just in total flow and that kind of stuff. So that seems like a very adequate test balloon, because if it is successful and people actually do read it, I know more or less they wouldn't get to the end of the book unless they actually completely resonated with the words. And if they resonate with the words, it's a very clear indicator they're likely going to work with me if they're an established founder, right? If not, it's just cool to write something and not use AI to do it and all that sort of stuff. So the strategy here is, how am I going to drive traffic to the book? Because it's such an unknown, because this is such a test. If I'm already posting on Instagram, this is something I would do like a $5 a day boosted post, right? And maybe several, and just kind of test it over the year. Again, this is going to be my one funnel for the entire year, right? So maybe in month one, I'm testing a carousel post around writing the book, and if anybody downloads it, and it's going to be free and stuff and that sort of stuff. So this is what's called a loss leader, right? That if somebody reads through it, even though it was free and even though it cost me money to acquire them to download the book, if they read through it, then that could potentially have a huge ROI later, because I sell a high ticket coaching service, right? So the $5 a day is completely worth it to me. What is that? That's only 150 bucks a month, 150 times 12. I mean, we're talking less than $2,000 a year to potentially get, even if I get even one client, I'll have more than 3x the actual cost of ad spend or return on ad spend, as an example, right? So that's the unproven one. A proven one is what I call the coffee chat funnel. The coffee chat funnel basically is just me reaching out to people organically, and inviting them to a coffee. Say, hey, you look cool. Hey, I think we have alignment. Hey, we're in the same place. Hey, we know this person, and it makes sense for us to chat. I typically get 3 to 5 of these a week. I'm going to try and up that a little bit. And again, the coffee chat funnel has been considered like so good by people who have had it. I've had like hundreds of them at this point, that now we're getting to a point where people are like, man, I am like wanting your coffee chat funnel, like the steps I use to make it feel really luxurious, to basically get 100% show rate. I actually had my first person not show for like the first time in 9 months, just the other week, but I chalk that up to the holiday season, right? Anyways, I'm probably going to put $5 a day behind this as well. Now, I may start organically just to save a bit of cash. It's not a big deal. But to actually put $5 a day behind the mechanism of the coffee chat funnel, and then of course I'll be reaching out to people organically as well. If you don't want to send DMs, if you don't like, kind of the whole reach out to people and all that sort of stuff, I would encourage you to follow me and actually go through the coffee chat funnel, because you'll see it is very anti-ick. It is very like not pushy and shovey in the DMs. It's literally, the reason I like coffee is, one, I drink coffee every day. Two, I like talking to people. And three is, I find that the coffee chats tend to naturally go a certain way if we're meant to work together. If we're not meant to work together, then it's just a lovely 20 minutes with a new stranger, and meeting people is why I'm on social to begin with, right? Social media is a business builder, but for me, it's literally a social platform that I can connect with other people across the world. How cool is that, right? So technically the coffee chat funnel for myself, completely proven. Testing it as like a product where someone could actually copy and paste the coffee chat funnel into their own system, that's unproven. So this is kind of a hybrid in its own regard. I'll probably put $5 a day behind the mechanism, and then I'll just, like I said, do organically when it comes to booking them myself. And then the final one that is proven are workshops. Now, I did these randomly in 2025, but I think I only put on 3 workshops in 2025. And in doing so, I ended up getting 4 or 5 clients from them. And that wasn't even with like, hey, my core offer is being pitched at the end of this. It was literally like, hey, you spend 50 to 100 bucks to be here. I'm going to teach you a high value skill. You're going to be able to apply it, and it should return ridiculous return on investment with everything you learned here. And then obviously people really vibed the message, and then just how I delivered it. And it turned into a natural, like, how can I work with you sort of stuff. And again, that kind of funneled into like having a coffee with somebody again. So anyways, I want to more or less pursue a workshop more regularly. I'm getting better at not saying I'm definitely going to do 1 every single month and that sort of stuff, but I'm going to do a lot more than 3 this year, and I want to see how that performs. So again, workshops are more kind of what I would consider a campaign, and so a campaign could have any amount of budget to it if I want to supplement it. Otherwise, I can just reach out to people. I can do organic posting, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be kind of likely looking like an organic and paid hybrid. And what does this all solve right here? This whole tier solves traffic, right? So traffic is really where it is. You can't feed the funnel if there's no traffic to begin with, right? You can't fill a cup of water if the faucet isn't producing water, okay? But the whole point is, if they download the book, I'll collect their email. If they get the coffee chat funnel or have a coffee chat with me, I'll collect their email. If they sign up for a workshop, I'll collect their email. From the email, they get a 10 email sequence series now. I may change it because I love email so much, but right now they get a 10 email sequence series, happens over the course of a couple weeks. The cool thing is that I have this little thing called the binge button in the email. And so if they want to read all 10 emails, because they're pretty digestible in the span of like 15, 20 minutes, they can just click the binge button and they'll get the next one a couple minutes after they finish that, right? So they can actually like binge through it. And that's among the philosophy of bingers are buyers. And so I want to give a ton of value right out of the gate. And I also want to suit people's style. So if they only want to read one email at a time, it'll take them a couple weeks. If they want to binge them, they can do that. Either way, we're getting people further down the funnel based on their own style faster. You'll notice that everything I do in my business is very pull energy, not push. I'm not telling you to do anything. You are basically given the keys and you get to decide how many doors do you want to open and how quickly do you want to open them, right? So the cool thing with the email is that, again, it's very pull energy, it's very invite level. So I'm really gonna do one of three things. The first thing is in the PS statement, I'll typically invite people to coffee, right? I'm gonna probably get to a point as my email list grows. It's not crazy huge. There's only like 16 people on it, last I checked yesterday. So it's not massive. I've still gotten business from it, which is cool. You don't need this huge email list to collect a six-figure payout in terms of running a business. I made over six figures last year with a tiny audience and a tiny email list. And so it's entirely possible. But again, I rely on that pull energy. So again, coffee, what does that do? It kind of invites people to what I'm already doing anyway, right? The next thing I'll invite them to is to watch my VSL. My VSL is going to be at a website called swipemyoffer.com. I'm just going to direct them to swipemyoffer.com. And it's more or less a video explaining my core philosophy and how my core offer works, which is heavily supported by one-on-one. I basically say it's me in your pocket. You can book a call with me anytime. You have one-on-one WhatsApp access to me anytime. And I invested tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, and it just, none of them had this level of support for the price, right? And so just inviting people to say, hey, here's what I believe in. Here's why I support people the way I do. Here is the actual mechanism and how we get people results, right? And so a video sales letter, it's going to come into, it's going to be edited right now, but it should come into like less than 10 minutes. So it's a pretty low lift in that regard. And then the final one is just a strategy session. It is essentially a coffee chat because, again, I'm very pull energy, but I treat it more as like a diagnostic. So if somebody's like, no, coffee sounds too casual, I need a full-on diagnostic, I need to pick your brain and solve my problem, that may be, then sweet, then they can pick that as well. Again, it's my time either way. And coffee chats are very similar. Why do they turn into business for me? Because I ask that person a lot of questions. I'm genuinely curious. I want to see what they're up to, what their business is, what problems they have, what their family situation is, how many hours they want to work, how many hours they are working, like all that fun stuff, right? And so I end up just asking a lot of questions. And then because I'll ask questions for 15, 20 minutes on a coffee chat, that person will be like, oh man, we haven't even talked about you at all. Law of reciprocity says, what do you do, Colby? And then I'll tell them how much I love what I do, Autonomy Club, and the people I work with who I consider friends, which is pretty amazing. The final bit of the funnel, really simple, is that what are we doing at the top? At the top, we're allowing people to like see our core philosophies and beliefs. So this is like values, this is beliefs, this is results. And then the final thing is, I would say, just like POV/life. That's what my content is about. I have by no means mastered content yet. I'm really new to the game. All the people I admire have been doing it for years and years and years, and I've been doing it for under 2. But this is where I'm headed, where I'm talking about what I believe in, the life I'm experiencing. For instance, my son coming in, showing me Lego just off camera here, that kind of stuff as I'm recording this. Life's crazy. You do what you got to do. All right. And then that funnels people into value. So a workshop would be valuable, having a coffee would be valuable, reading that book would be valuable. You're going to learn something, right? So this is kind of the core elements. Now, one final thing is, if I want to do little lead magnets and that sort of stuff, I could do a little lead magnet here. I could do a little lead magnet here. The whole point is that it's all going to funnel into the email again. They'll be totally free. And the lead magnets are going to be low lift because I'm not going to give them their own email sequence, and I'm not going to like make it really, really confusing. Really, they're going to be something that is like already part of my core offer, and I'll probably just pull a single piece out of the core offer and say, hey, here's a way to know whether you wrote a post that absolutely slaps, or here's a way to retain clients and win the first 48 hours, like those kind of little things that I do well, right? As an example. So all of this funnels down, and this is the big gamble this year. So I've typically only sold from sales calls, but sales calls, because they've really been coffee chats. I can only say in 2025 that I had like 4 sales calls all year. The rest were coffee chats, and it just kind of came naturally, word of mouth, all that kind of stuff. And so I always have that to lean on. I am being very transparent in that I don't actually have this bit tested, although all the people I admire, I absolutely believe. And I know that the document I put together is probably one of the best core offer documents in the business coaching space. And so technically it's not backed by data, it's backed by belief and a little bit of delusion, but I want to send people to an offer doc. And the beautiful thing about that is the doc itself explains everything. So the doc is saying, hey, what do we believe in here? What have you been trying that hasn't been working? What is the system that gets you the results? What is the level of support? All that sort of stuff. The VSL lays that out perfectly, but either way, when someone is ready, very pull energy, they will know exactly what to do. That document will be there. So my goal for 2026, because I only need around 20 to 30 clients for my year to be successful, is to have 2,000 people for the whole year. Now, obviously, the quicker the better, and the more people who see it, the more likely. But if 2,000 people a year see that, and it closes at 1%, that gives me my 20 clients, right? So how do I support that? It comes back up to here. Traffic, traffic, traffic. All right, so here's kind of the way it's gonna work in terms of, is the funnel broken? Because content is the main driver, essentially, I'm just gonna look at every single like organic post and ad set as doing the same thing. Now, because I don't have a massive audience, I don't have any expectations around organic. I kind of see that as playing in the sandbox, self-expression, very Rick Rubin style, which if you haven't read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, freaking go pick up a copy. It's worth every penny. But he says the audience comes last. And that is exactly what I'm going to be doing with my organic content. I'm going to be creating stuff I like, that I think is valuable, that speaks to me primarily, because my core audience, my target customer, is basically me from 3 years ago, right? And so just speaking to that person via my own self-expression, POV, and beliefs, that's going to be the organic side of things. So really what I'm talking here is just kind of ads, and is it broken? Pretty simple. Is it broken? You're going to create the ads, whether it's for the book, if I run it for workshop, or the coffee chat funnel, and of course to my core offer as well. I'm going to run ads that just shoot straight to the VSL, which is going to go past that as well. And so it's not going to be, and I don't want you to think it's crazy numbers here. For the book, for the coffee chat funnel, and maybe for a workshop, we're talking like $5 a day, $15 a day in total, nothing major, nothing crazy. For the core offer, that is all about just, do you have a return on ad spend? Are your ads profitable? So for the month of January, I'm going to be applying $50 a day to that, because when you begin in ads, you really should just be accepting this is just a test balloon in budget. I am not going to have any expectation that it's going to return. I'm not going to have whatever, because the whole point is the system or the process I'm about to break down right now is that you need to know if there's a break in your funnel. Is there a break here? Is there a break here? Is there a break here? First one is ads. And the ads only job is to sell the landing page, to sell the video, right? So I have 2 ad bodies and I did 17 hooks. That's kind of crazy, but we're going to do 34 different ad combinations, more or less saying the same thing, that says, hey, retention is where the freedom is. Autonomy is real freedom. Everything you've been pitched right now is kind of endless acquisition disguised as like life-changing stuff, where it's like, do you really want to chase clients over and over and over again? I don't think you want to send 100 DMs a day. I think you want to have 5 clients who are fully aligned, who stay for years, rather than have 100 clients who churn out every few months and just never end that cycle, right? So that's more or less what the ads say. And in terms of those ads saying that, they're saying, hey, the actual system and breakdown on how you can create better retention and freedom in your business is in a simple free video on the next page. Click the link in the ad, you go to the next page. So the whole point is, are the ads working? Are they clicking the link? If they're not clicking the link, and you should run it anywhere between 7 and 10 days before you change anything. Sometimes it's just changing the hook. Sometimes it's changing the entire ad. Sometimes it's changing just the script, whatever. I'm by no means like, oh my gosh, I've spent millions in ads and that sort of stuff. I've just learned from people who have done that. But 7 to 10 days before you change anything, and then you more or less like diagnose, right? And because we're going to have 34 different combinations in ads, maybe we won't run all 34 at once, but because we're going to have 34 combinations in ads, we're going to be able to look really, really quickly and see if there's any outliers. The whole goal is to find 1 or 2 outliers per 10 ads, right? If you can find 1 outlier per 10 ads, and that one is seriously overperforming all the other ones, that's where you just kill the rest and you put your entire budget behind that one ad and you let it run, right? Then the next one is the VSL. So long as we have an outlier and we know we can get people to the right spot, then sweet, we don't have anything broken. So if they watch the video sales letter, and this is a simple landing page, mine's again on swipemyoffer.com, they can watch that video. And in my case, the whole point is every single stage in the funnel needs to sell one thing. So the ad sells the landing page to go watch the video. The video's one job is to sell the button below the video, which is read the document, right? Because I'm going to sell from an offer doc. And so more or less what we need to see is kind of watch time with this video. We also just need to see if it's actually, being played at all. And then of course, button clicks, right? We want to see how many times that button's been clicked, because that'll show us how many people get to the actual document. Now, around, this is industry standard, but 5 to 8% in terms of people who actually watch the video going to the document is okay. Obviously, the higher you get there, or the higher the number, the better. So if we could get this to 10% plus, that means out of every 100 people I see, okay, if 10 people are going to the document, then I would wager that the document can close 1% of those, or 10% of those people, right? So that's kind of where that 1% close rate comes in, is just get to 2,000 people, 2,000 people, 2,000 people to see the actual VSL, right? When they do that, then so long as we've solved that problem, final step then would be sweet, we don't have an actual breakage in the VSL. And I use a tool called Vitalytics. You can use Loom, you can use whatever. Vitalytics is kind of the Rolls Royce, but it's free for the first 3 videos. So highly recommend that. But I'm going to use Vitalytics for the actual video. And then of course, they're going to be going to the doc, right? And so now all we need to do is say, is this document converting at all? We're really going to know this based on button clicks. My document's on Notion, so I have to do a little bit more research. I think you can add Google Analytics to a Notion page so long as it's a live URL, so I have to double check that. Plenty of us to learn these things as well. But the goal with that is, hey, if people are landing on it, how much time are they spending on it? Are they clicking on anything on it? That kind of stuff. Because my document has, in Notion, it has areas where you can toggle. So I keep it really high level in terms of just the base text. But if you want to toggle my story, if you think you need to learn more about me, you can do that. If you want to toggle the nitty-gritty details around the stuff we talk about, mindset or offers or acquisition or sales or retention, then you can do that, right? And so the whole point of it is basically be are people engaging with the doc? And then obviously, because people can check out directly from the document, the ultimate key will be, is this actually returning on investment? And that goes all the way back to the actual ads. So if we spent, $1,000 on ads and I get 1 client, in terms of lifetime value, that's a good return on investment. But some of my clients may pay weekly and that sort of stuff. So maybe we start in the red until we actually get the break even, and then retain them obviously past 6 months and that sort of stuff. So that's a simple funnel, right? It may look complex, but really what we're talking about here is everything funnels to this. And the email's only job is to point them into a conversation with me, or to converse with me virtually via a video, right? So essentially, email's only job is for them to hear my voice more and speak directly to them, either via a video or via a direct conversation. And that's really, really simple. If they do that, then of course, I'm going to point them to the document. So if they're on a coffee chat and I know that they're a qualified person, I never pitch to people I don't know I can help. But so long as that's the case, then hey, I'll be hey, I would love for you to review this doc. I think there's plenty of helpful things in there for you, and I would just love your feedback. Pull energy, not hey, sign with me today. That's not what I do. I've had plenty of clients decide on their own if they want to come in later. But more or less, if it's the VSL, it's going to be read the doc and you can check out right there, or you can book a call if you need questions, whatever it may be. But it's really, really straightforward. And because it's so straightforward, I can look at it for the book at $5 a day. I can look at it for the coffee chat funnel at $5 a day. I can look at it for workshop campaigns. Those would be a little bit different. But more specifically, the big one is going to be my core offer. And the whole point is to run those ads, because I don't want to spend millions and millions in ads, even if it's returning out, because I don't want this massive business with 20 employees that hits $10 million a year, right? I am very happy with a 15 to 20 hour work week. I have a VA and a video editor right now. I would love to keep it that way for a long, long time, because I value my freedom as a dad and that sort of stuff. So if I make high 6 figures or a 7-figure year, I'm more than happy with that, so long as my freedom's not compromised. So the core offer, typically going to be $50 a day to test, right? And then so long as it is profitable, then getting to that 20 to 40 client mark, depending where my comfort level is to keep my freedom for 2026, is just get there quicker, right? But once we're there, then I close the doors. I have more demand than supply, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I can turn the ads back on again when I'm ready. and just create an amazing life for myself and my clients and my family and all that stuff after. So hopefully this helps. Pretty in-depth breakdown overall, but overall, you just kind of choose the funnel you want. Now, you don't have to go crazy complex with this. I would say if you're doing it, just keep it proven, right? If we were to cut all of this, I could literally just say, hey, I'm not going to focus on the book, the coffee chat funnel, or the workshop. I'm only going to send people to my email, and I'm only going to talk about my core offer. I could do that, right? But because I'm very much pull energy, I want to give people a few more things, like a couple lead magnets here, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, everything goes into collect the email. The email is the same series for everybody. And in that series, and twice weekly when I email my list, I'm going to talk about a coffee chat, the video sales letter, or booking a strategy session with me. And then because my buyer is a highly intelligent person, they'll know what to do after that. So thanks for watching. Hope this helps. Basically, funnel modeling and making 101. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'll have a link in the description where you can contact me. And then, of course, I'm going to send you to swipemyoffer.com. If you want to learn more about what I do, by all means, click on that link. Otherwise, thank you so much. Feel free to stick around for more, and we'll see you in the next one.